We've been doing movie nights for
years.
So Gen Xer and
A Gen Z. Random weird moments that the two of us have experienced, and there are a lot of those.
And he crashes them.
As you do.
It's like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, where did this come from? Why are we singing?
I mean, you're not going to learn anything about the movies listening to us talk. This is the Argo City Podcast. Film, conventions, and fan life with Maddie and Matthew.
And we have returned.
So this week it is Movie Wheel of Boom, which means it's one of Maddie's movies.
And we ended up doing something a little weird this time. I essentially compiled season 1 of Ever After High, and we did that as our movie this week.
So, let me, before we get into it, describe what we're watching. Give me like an overview of what we're talking about, and then we'll start talking about what I saw and what you saw.
So, Ever After High is essentially a high school for, it's a high school for students who are the children of fairy tales. Like, we have a daughter of Snow White, we get to see, like, a daughter of the Pied Piper. And we're following Raven Queen, the daughter of the evil queen from the Snow White tale. And, well...
We're kind of following her because it branches off all over the place, but she is one of the... Her story does seem to be at the center of a lot of it.
Yeah, and it just kind of essentially follows through their first day going through to Throne Coming, which is what we end with.
So, my first initial impressions are, I mean, it's very Monster High.
And that's the thing. It's made, I don't know if it's made by the same group, but...
Is it, well, it's Mattel.
Yeah, it's Mattel.
So Mattel, like, as in, Mattel makes Barbie. Mattel makes He-Man.
Yeah.
I think Mattel does Monster. Was it at the same time? Was this earlier? Was this later?
I want to say... Oh, gosh. I want to say Monster High was first. And then I think hold on, I'm going to Google this. I'm pretty sure Monster High was first.
And the thing is, I know we were feeding you Monster High as a little girl. You and your sister.
Okay, so that makes sense because there's this trend thing online where it's like, were you raised as an Ever After High girl or as a Monster High girl? And that like changes like the person that you are. And it looks like Monster High was first and Ever After High followed around 2 years later. Hold on, I gotta pull it up again.
Because this starts in 2013.
When did
I did look that up when I was looking up actors and stuff like that, figuring out voices.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Monster High is 2010.
Okay, so Monster High's got a big
they've got
start on it.
A really big head start in it.
And in kid years, 3 years is a long time.
Yeah, and that's not even including all the movies, plus not to mention the animated series that was going on with Monster High.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, because a lot of this stuff for you, there's always been, like, media based on toys.
Yeah.
But for me... Like, if I'm watching He-Man, we get 65 episodes a year, or 75 episodes, something like that, because it's running every day. It's running every Saturday, too. And there is more time. Whereas you might get, a dozen, or you get a bunch of shorts. And that's, like, one of these episodes. It's basically a bunch of webisodes that have been...
And we didn't
melded together.
And we didn't even watch through the entirety of season 1. I cut and chose the ones that we ended up watching.
Like how many episodes do you think there are? How much lore do you have?
There is 5 seasons of Ever After High in total.
Yeah, but 5, that doesn't tell me anything.
Okay, hold on. Let me look up how many episodes.
Because like I know like She-Ra and the Princesses of Power say we got 4 seasons. Yeah, you got 4 seasons of 6 episodes. That's not... the old one got 2 seasons and still had 120 episodes. So
it looks like season 1 was 15 episodes.
Okay.
I can't really find anything episode-wise aside from it just telling me that there's 5 seasons.
Well, and that's the thing, because...
And I would say typically around maybe 1 to 7 to 8, depending on the season. And
that's kind of where I was feeling some of this was thin. Because and especially like we get into some of these scare quotes, episodes that are a combination of a bunch of these shorts.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's tons of world building. But I need a story. And to be fair, by the time we got to the end, by the time we got to the end, we've got this big chunk, which is Throne Coming. Well, we'll talk about that.
And I will say, season 1 is the worst out of all of those. The other ones are much more structured. In one season, you're following like a winter storm. In another one, you are following the characters during, like, it's called Spring Upsprung, where they're trying to figure out what put everyone to sleep. There's another season, I'm going to talk about it later because I specifically wanted to call it out to you, but they're a lot more structured. I think season 1 is more so our introduction to these characters.
Yeah, and I think definitely we want to talk about where it goes.
Yeah.
You see, the other thing that this really reminded me of was The Descendants.
Yeah,
and
this was partially...
I'm not going to lie.
Partially, I
think The Descendants did it better. I would have really liked to have seen The Descendants in a series like this.
They had an animated series. There is an animated series.
Mm-hmm.
But
that might be something to explore then. Because
you used to rip the songs off it for me on my MP3 player. I used to listen to them on the bus.
Well, I mean, we watched all 3 movies with you and your sister.
We need to get around
and they
to
were
that
good.
New one.
I mean, as far as the crunchy granola Disney tween movies go, these are not bad.
Yeah.
So I just really was feeling that. I mean, yes, it's in that style of Monster High, of Bratz, which I don't mind. And I think we might have slipped you some of this stuff when you were younger too, but not a lot. We raised you more on Monster High because, well, that
more fit our family's vibe.
Yeah, it just does.
I remember you told me one time when you were at a horror convention, you were playing in some sort of game. And
no, that was actually a film festival.
Oh, film festival.
That was 12 Hours of Terror.
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, that was 12 Hours of Terror. This was a yearly thing. We actually still do it here and there now, but in Cleveland, they will do around in Halloween time. They'll do a marathon of horror movies. So 6, 7 horror movies all in a row. They'd usually throw in breakfast. You'd go in. It's funny too, because I show up at 7 o'clock at night. I get out at 7 or more likely 8:30 in the morning. It's never actually 12 hours.
Yeah.
And drive straight to church to lead worship in the same clothes that I wore to 12 Hours of Terror. And I won one of they do giveaways in between each one. I did a trivia game or something, and they handed me a big double DVD of Monster High, and one of my friends was looking over, was like, "Your girls are gonna love that." So we did more Monster High than we did Ever After, but I think I remember seeing it around and noting.
Yeah, it was around the same time. And the cool thing about these 2 series is that they are connected universes. There is a character in the show. Her name is Cupid. And I pointed her out to you when we were watching. I can't remember. I believe she originally comes from Monster High, and she travels to Ever After High in order to help with love. And she has a completely different design, but it's the same canon character.
I feel like that would be something really interesting to see. We should look at that for a TV night or something, or or shorts for one of your next ones, because that seems really interesting to do that kind of crossover. Seriously, they list her as the daughter of Eros.
Yes.
And this is not what I would imagine for the daughter of Eros, but they can't really do that in a kid's cartoon.
I have a quick clip I want you to watch.
Okay.
One of the characters gets on a phone call with them, and we actually see them in the end credits of one of the movies.
That's a really interesting... Actually, I think I like the Monster High design better, but then again, that makes sense.
Of course you do.
It's just more streamlined, whereas this one in Ever After High is light and fluttery. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea that there is a crossover. So is it like a multiverse where we're Dimensionally crossing.
She, so the character in the movie, she specifically says, and I quote, it turns out that this school is real. All of the high schools that we have heard about are real. That is an actual quote from Monster High. So, yes, connected universe. I don't know what else it's connected to, but yes, connected universe.
See, this kind of stuff is where, and this is what I would get into. This is what I want to know more about, what the actual structure is. Like, there's one moment where we go into the library, and they're talking about, oh, shh, you don't want to upset the evil step librarians. That's an interesting phrase, because it's, what exactly is a step librarian? Did they used to be librarians for some other place, and then they merged, but one took over, like, more so?
I love that idea. That's an amazing idea.
I need more. I need more as far as what is a step librarian.
Maybe they're like the evil stepsisters or something?
Oh, I'm sure that's what they are, but that doesn't make you a step librarian.
No, that's hilarious.
Is this a library that just, like, bought up all the books from another one that went out of business? and got one of the employees there, and they just there's so much potential for just a whole side quest there. But so, and like, there are other characters though here too, and your favorite one was Madeline Hatter.
I love my Madeline Hatter. It's not even just the fact that we share a name. I just love her.
I don't know. I think that's got to be one of the things that draws you originally.
Well, a little, like, originally probably, but I keep saying this, I love my crazy characters.
Well, and I mean, this character, this is Pinkie Pie, basically. This is Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. The kind of untethered Pinkie Pie. And, like, the collapsible tea set with the dormouse. And the fact that she understands, well, the only other language she seems to understand is Riddleish.
Of course.
And, well, yeah, you know what? That was one of the other characters that I really liked, though, too. One of the Grimm brothers, Giles. Mm-hmm. So Giles is cursed to live in a secret underground library and speak only in riddles. And I'm like, this is not a curse. This is a career goal.
What?
I want to be Giles.
I want to ask, did you catch on to the Brothers Grimm thing right away?
Yes.
Well,
I figured it would be something like that. They said the name pretty early on.
I didn't realize it until much later on.
Just so happens that out of all the people in this show, Giles is the only one that I actually have an autograph from.
Yeah, who do you have him from? I noticed you were looking on IMB when we were watching.
Giles is voiced by Cam Clark.
Okay, giant book.
So the reason I have Giles is because he's He-Man.
He-Man.
In the 2002 revival.
Oh my gosh, and he plays what's his name? Stitchy guy from Monster High.
Yes. Well, he also see, the thing that he's probably best known for.
Man, this is a heavy book. Ow.
And the reason why he's charging like $60 at conventions for autographs is because he's also one of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh. That's not what I know him from, and it's not what I care about. And he was nice enough to sign a couple of autographs for me through the mail. So he actually is part of my He-Man collection. And that's the thing. I feel like I have to keep coming back to stuff like He-Man because that was to me what this is to you.
Yeah.
I think I was lucky though because I got more of it. I got a greater variety. I got greater lore. And then 30 years later, I got the 2002 series, which really decided we're going to break out continuity, lore, history, and we're going to explore this more deeply.
And I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I don't really believe you when you say that this doesn't have a whole lot of lore, but that's only because we did like the first season. When you get to the other 5, it expands tremendously. Now, you in the series, you seem to kind of like Lizzie Hart, daughter of the Queen of Hearts. You were mentioning a little bit of that when we were watching.
I was looking at her. I'm trying to think, okay, why Lizzie? And my real question, and it took me a little while, and I made a decision. Okay, so are we doing Lizzie Borden or are we doing Elizabeth Bathory? We're doing Lizzie Borden because it's constantly chop off their heads. Chop, chop, chop. I have a particular fascination with Lizzie Borden because I did a play that really investigates and deconstructs the Lizzie Borden murders. It was the second to last play I ever did.
But I kind of wanted to jump into that whole idea of Wonderland there. Because I know we're likely not going to do any more of this, mostly just because I wanted to introduce you to the idea of it. The Storybook of Legends, at the end of the movie, she throws it into a well. Do you know where it ends up?
Oh.
It ends up in Wonderland.
See, now, and we only got a glimpse of the Queen of Hearts way in the distance, and I really wanted to see that design. I wanted to see what they were going to do with her.
I might throw on the Wonderland series, but there's an entire season revolving around a curse that the Queen put on Wonderland, and the students we only see a couple of students from Wonderland. They're like, we see Madeline Hatter, we see Lizzie Hartz, we see the Cheshire Grin Cat. We see a couple of them, but there's not as many as you would think. They're all trapped in Wonderland. And our characters end up traveling to Wonderland to find the Storybook of Legends. There's an entire season about it. It has the best intro song out of all of the seasons. I might throw that one on because it's just that good.
That's got to be some of the Disney influence, though, too, because Wonderland's not really a fairy tale, and Wonderland came much, much later. I have such an aversion to poetry that they're hard for me to read. But then again, we're mixing so many different types of ideas and different types of mythology and storytelling. Like, you looked into the background and you're seeing this one character, like, I need to know who this is because she's
so pretty. She's just a background character.
And it's Princess Aubergine?
Yeah, the daughter of Princess Aubergine from a really old, Indian story, apparently. It is confirmed by the creator. I did look into that.
And it's kind of an Indian Sleeping Beauty story.
Yes, but the thing is that this series is full of background characters like that. Every single one of those background characters that have a design, has a name, has a confirmed backstory. That girl with the short red hair is a character. I didn't look into what her parents was, but they are all over the place. And that's what makes it fascinating about this, because you can look at anyone and know that there's purpose behind their design.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and part of that's toy design, because they need to be able to create dolls from everything.
And even going as far, in the books, there are tons more characters. There is a lot of books about this series in particular.
This would lend itself well to that. I kept waiting for some of the less obvious tropes.
Tell me who.
Because, for instance, Snow White's daughter. She named her daughter Apple.
Yeah, Apple White.
Apple, on her first day of school, all the boys are giving her apples. Wait, no, I know the Snow White story. This is bad.
I didn't even think about that.
She should have an aversion to apples.
I didn't even think about that.
At one point, Applewhite gets upset and runs off to the enchanted forest. And I'm just waiting for her to go and stare into some important water. They do seem to hit a lot of just some of the obvious tropes. I would have liked some other stuff there too.
Like what else? Out of curiosity.
I don't know. It's the comparison to Monster High comes back. Because I enjoy the puns more in Monster High. But this one has all sorts of puns. Like I said, they're homecoming. No. This is throne coming. We have gymnastics. We have, all right, my best friend forever after. And they're constantly talking. They're constantly doing these. I don't know. It feels like some of it's low hanging fruit, but it is a kids show. So it's how far do I want to really take this? They have Little Red Riding Hood, and her father is the big bad wolf. You know what? I don't know I'm still not certain. Oh. Is her secret that it's the big bad wolf, or is it the secret that her father's a teacher at the school? Because each of those things could be equally scandalous and problematic.
Well, I mean, first of all, her father is a teacher. That was said in the series, in the episode. He's a professor. He teaches a lot of the villain courses. Second of all, her secret is that she has wolf ears. Because the whole thing is the Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf got together. They actually had two.
That I get.
They actually had two children. There was her, and she essentially takes on the role of following Little Red Riding Hood. Her sister is completely wolf, and
Oh,
she takes
that's
after her father.
interesting.
I'm surprised we didn't see her in this episode, but maybe
Yeah.
I'm probably thinking of like a later season.
To
But,
me, though,
yeah.
how amazing is it that Big Bad Wolf is scarier as a human than he is as a wolf?
What?
No, they make him look friendly and cuddly as a wolf. And as a dude, he's just huge and intimidating. I am more scared of him as a man than I am as a wolf. That's just, it's a thing.
No, that is really interesting. Just out of curiosity, because we already kind of talked about like my favorite characters, did any of them stand out to you, like student-wise?
I can't really say that they did. Maybe Rapunzel's sister,
Okay.
the short-haired one.
Yeah, the short-haired one. Her
I
name
thought
is
that
Holly.
was, but then again, I like Rapunzel at the end of Tangled because she's kind of free.
That's
The
true.
hair wasn't a blessing. The hair was a curse.
Mm-hmm.
And the cute bob that she gets at the end, and it turns her into somebody different, and I really like that. So I like that they're kind of playing with that.
Yeah, the whole thing with hers is that her older sister is the one, she got the destiny because she's the older twin. Holly doesn't have a destiny since she doesn't have one, so she's free to follow whatever path she wants.
Let's talk about the destiny thing,
Yes,
too.
destiny is a big thing in this series.
Well, the whole idea of we are repeating our stories, our legends. This is an interesting theme. And I did pick up on this because I've seen this before in some other areas. There's an idea within the Sandman books that old gods start to fade and lose power and maybe even cease to exist when they stop being worshipped.
Yeah, I've heard of that idea.
As the old religions fade, the old gods do as well. We see some of this in Coco.
Yeah.
The idea of
The land of the forgotten.
right. When nobody remembers you anymore, you no longer cross over for Day of the Dead. What happens to you? There was, I think it's John Byrne's She-Hulk. Yeah, you got a really confused look on your face, but this is cool. He posited that, you know how comic book characters always stay the same age, basically.
Yeah.
He came up with an idea that, what if they started to age when they stopped being written about? When people forget about them. So now I've got this
interesting idea.
Now I've got this secretary, this legal aide, who's desperate to get back into a comic book before she completely turns into an old maid.
That's amazing. That sounds like such a fun idea.
So I love this idea that we have to save our story. That's part of it. That whole trope really resonates with me, and there's interesting places they can take that, I think.
So, who did you initially side with regarding that? Because I feel like we really saw both sides of the story there.
I noticed towards the end, we kind of do. In great part, I'm still going to side with Raven. Now, to be fair, maybe people would think that she was a little less evil if she didn't wear quite as many spikes.
It's goth. It's a style.
It's beyond goth. It's just... So, she's looking evil, but... There is a song at the end of the Muppets. The thing that I just couldn't help thinking over and over again as they're talking about this. Give me a second here.
Yeah,
Let me pull this up.
Now I'm curious.
Life's like a movie, make your own ending, keep believing, keep pretending, we've done just what we set out to do. Thanks to the lovers, the dreamers, and you.
Oh, I remember that song.
So I have to stand with Raven because of that. Make your own ending. Grab your own destiny. And I have to go there because if I do what I want to do, if I take a chance, then if it completely fails, and it might, I would rather be able to blame myself. I would rather be able to say, I tried it, but I was the one who failed. Rather than, I didn't try it because you told me not to. Because then, I just don't know. Now, there's greater implications here, though. But even they're not sure. So their idea is, if you don't live your parents' story, does the story vanish? Do you vanish? And we don't know. I need more answers to those metaphysical questions.
Actually, speaking of metaphysical beings, you had a lot to say about the narrators throughout this.
Yeah, that was a question, because at first I thought it was the principal narrating. And
no, not quite.
It's not the principal narrating. So at this point, now I need to know, do we ever find out more about the narrators? Where's this coming from? Especially since Madeline Hatter can hear them and nobody else can. But it's more, okay, are they just telling the story or are they guiding it? Are they manipulating things?
Okay, so in order to answer that question, I have to show something first. Do you remember her in the beginning of every sequence?
Yes, we see a little kind of girly doll icon at the end of a key. It's a stylized image.
So that girl, she is the narrator's daughter. Later on down the line, she's the one that they eventually have a daughter, and that becomes her. And later on in the Wonderland story I was telling you about, they're trying to figure out how to get to Wonderland. And I'm going to try not to spoil this because I'm going to throw it in the list for later. But they're actively not allowed to manipulate the story. The narrators don't. I can't remember if they say they're not allowed, but they don't. She breaks that rule, and she is actively pushing books out of the page, actively attempting to help them, yelling at Madeline, trying to get her to, do something.
So we're getting really, we start really leaning into the fourth wall breaks.
Yes, exactly. They really do that in, coincidentally, as I said, the Wonderland series. Mm-hmm. But yes, we do kind of play into that a little bit. I don't recall if we really learn, their characters' names or really what their purpose is. They're just kind of telling a story. The Brooke Page, as the girl is named, is raised on these stories. So, for all we know, they could just be narrating a story to the little girl. We don't really know. I don't really remember if they, do anything with that later on. Because if I'm not mistaken, the last season is the Winter series. And I don't think we ever really got a conclusion to it because I'm pretty sure it got canceled, if I'm not mistaken. I don't recall.
So it sounds like we actually have more to explore here. We should, even if you're throwing in some of the shorts, on TV Night or instead of a trailer, and if we maybe go into a couple of the longer ones down the road, it might be worthwhile. Before we close this out, though, I just want to I want to talk about one other little thing. Yeah. And this is trivial, but because some people probably looked at the thumbnail and skipped right over this because they see, what on earth are you doing talking about talking about this tween girls doll line and its half-hearted media tie-ins. Mm-hmm. And if you've gotten this far in listening to the actual episode, you may notice we took this actually pretty seriously. You looked at me like, I don't believe you have this many notes.
No, I was really confused as we were talking through it.
There's a reason, though, even when it's something like even when it's something cartoony, kiddie, and something that you grew up with and you want to kind of revisit, I still want to take this seriously. I remember going to see the Transformers movie with my parents. Oh. And obviously they're not into this at all. But I also remember heading over to Old English Parlor for ice cream afterwards and asking my mother so what did you like better? Did you like Megatron better or Galvatron better? And this is a silly boy question. And she gave me an actual, real, measured answer. Well, the thing is, before Unicron transformed him into Galvatron, he had a lot more free will. He could do what he was trying to do. The fact that she took that seriously was something that always stuck with me. The fact that I still hold on to stuff like Masters of the Universe, which, again, just a silly cartoon designed to promote a toy line, but if you look around in the library, we are
surrounded.
It takes up a full corner of the library and an entire scrapbook. So I think it's important to take this stuff seriously. And that's why we do. That's why I'm going to take 2 pages of notes to talk about it. And I'm interested in seeing what happens if somebody revives this 20 years later when you're hitting that age.
Because, like, they redid the Monster High series, which was a disaster, both by long-term fans and other-term fans. But kind of going back to what you were saying, I kind of grew up with you kind of always trying to show interest or trying to get into it. Even during my hyperfixation with Pokemon, you did, like, a lot of research to know what I was talking about with Serena, with Jigglypuff. And I guess that's not a normal thing? Because I feel like I've grown up in a place where that is normal.
You know what? Your grandmother did that too, though. Nana did that. She'd memorize the different types.
Oh my god, I had her memorizing those when I was a kid. Oh no.
Maybe one parent does it and one doesn't.
And I will just say, from the child's point of view, that's really important.
Yeah.
Attempting to show interest, even if you have no idea what is going on, that's something magical.
And because that child stuff that is trivial at that point, those become the classics later on. For my father, it was the Lone Ranger, it was the Shadow.
Yeah.
And those are considered classics in serious fiction now.
Oh god, are my shows classics now?
No. Not for another 20 years.
Don't smile! Don't give me that grin! That was creepy!
So that is everything for tonight. So we'll see you next week with something different.
With the movie box of Doom. Bye!